Welcome, everybody, to the Big Sky Now podcast. As always, I'm your host, Josh Amick. We have the same panel this week as we did on Tuesday. We got John, Fritz, and Mark, with hopefully Ian returning back to us next week. So let's go over what we expect this week on Saturday. We have a couple of matchups that are more like our speed. We got Big Sky with no more FBS teams. The first matchup on Saturday's slate is Idaho State versus North Dakota. Idaho State was very impressive last week. You think the Bengals have a shot against the 10th ranked Fighting Hawks, Mark?
I guess they have a shot. They throw the ball well, but it's going to be a little bit of a step up from Division II Western Oregon to a ranked North Dakota team. So I think they're going to be a pretty good underdog in that one.
John, how do you feel?
Yeah, I definitely would agree. I think if you have to make me give a short answer, no, I don't think that they're going to really have a shot. But anytime you step out into the field, anything can happen. It's not played on paper. So, but I'd expect them to be impressive against a Division II team like Western Oregon, and I would expect them to struggle against the Fighting Hawks this week, especially after how they played in that second half against Montana.
I would just like to add that, in years past, and I'm not sure this really still applies, but teams used to be a little hungover after playing Montana, especially if they beat them. They had a habit of losing the next week. And so it gives Idaho State a little bit of a chance, but I'd feel a lot better about it if they were at home. They've got to go to the Alaris Center, so UND is still the pick.
Yeah, but it's kind of to elaborate on that. Do you think teams are normally hungover just by their style of play on, is it offense, is it defense, or what is it about Montana that kind of leaves teams hungover, so to speak?
Well, I just think Montana gets a target on its back because it's been so good for so long. Knowing that last year is the first year they got back up and won a Big Sky Championship, first time since 2009. It maybe doesn't apply anymore, but how it used to be was teams would just expend so much physically and emotionally because everybody just wanted to beat the Grizzlies so bad that they tend to not play as well the next week. So I'll be interested to see how UND plays this week.
Yeah, me too. Definitely interested in that. So far in the Big Sky Conference, we have three teams that are still looking for their first win. We have Northern Colorado, Portland State, and Sacramento State are all winless. Fritz, who do you think is most likely to get their first win of the season this week?
Oh, I think that's a pretty easy one. I think Sac State's going to do it. I just don't see Northern Colorado having a chance against Abilene Christian. Abilene Christian took Texas Tech to overtime in week 0 in a loss, but overtime with Texas Tech is pretty amazing. And, the Vikings, they have another tough battle with the number 6 South Dakota Coyotes. So Sac State, that's my pick.
Yeah, Sac State 0-2, but 0-2 against two Mountain West schools, right. San Jose State and Fresno State. So that's not like they're playing Western, Western Oregon and, whatever team. Somebody played a team that Portland State beat last year and scored 91 on. If they played that kind of schedule, they'd be 2-0. We wouldn't be talking about them. So Sac State.
Yeah, and to kind of jump off that point that Mark just made, they played really well against those two mountain teams too. It's not like they were just blown out of the water. They got off to a tough start against Fresno State last week. They were down 25-3. They battled back to make it a 46-30 game. So it's not like they're getting knocked out of the water by any means in that. I would like to kind of mention that I feel like Northern Colorado may have a chance just because, and I know Fritz mentioned that they beat Texas or pulled close to Texas Tech, send them to overtime. Abilene Christian did. But last week they faced West Georgia, who just moved up to the FCS for this year, and gave up 24 points. They didn't exactly, shine in that game. So I feel like Northern Colorado may have a chance against them, especially I believe that game is in Greeley. So being on your home field always adds a little bit to that. So that game, Northern Colorado might be able to pull it out, but I'd say Sac State's definitely my pick if I had to pick one of those three.
Piggyback on the point that we were just making about Sacramento State. They are still ranked 11 in the top 25. They face another top 25 team in Nicholls. What will be the key for Sacramento State to pick up that first win of the season? And let's start with you on this one, John.
Yeah, I think the key for Sacramento State is going to be keeping Caden Bennett healthy. I know against San Jose State, he kind of got banged up in that one. And then just kind of a mix of their play style. Caden Bennett can kind of do it multiple facets, but also having had it in my little notes here. Toe Tolliver, their running back, also just kind of getting him involved. He's got 2 touchdowns on the ground and almost 200 yards carrying so far this season. So I think it's just a good balance, and of course, staying healthy is going to be an important thing for them.
Yeah, I think if they just play at the same level they did against FBS teams, I mean, I don't know what kind of cumulative effect 2 games against the Mountain West did on them physically, but if they're still pretty healthy, they just should be able to play. They just play a normal game. They should be fine this week.
I kind of just want to echo what John said. Caden Bennett's the key. I'm not sure he even played last week in their loss to Fresno, but they're balanced, they're well coached, and they're just hungry for a win. And I know Nicholls is ranked, but the Southland isn't exactly a power conference. It's not exactly the CAA or the Missouri Valley or the Big Sky. So I think the Hornets are the pick.
All right, that leads us into our perfect segue with our picks. And Fritz, I want to let you know that you're not doing as bad as you think you are. We actually have a 4-way tie, with me being the one that's bringing up the rear. So we have, so far this season, we have Mark, Fritz, John, and Ian all with 21-3 records. But last week, Mark led the way, going 10-1 with his picks. So Mark, you're going to kick us off this week. Who do you like? And give us a quick brief reason on why you like those teams. Let's run down the line.
All right. Well, the one in the 10-1 was that Eastern game that we all missed, and I still think that was the right pick. It just the Eagles let us down, but so we go. Yeah. Okay. We got North Dakota over Idaho State, Montana over Morehead State. I still think Idaho, even with their second quarterback or third quarterback, we're not sure about Wagner. I guess he's X said he's not been ruled out for this Saturday, which in college, I guess since you don't have to do an injury report, nobody knows who your quarterback's going to be until Saturday when you go through the warm-up. So it could be him or it could be Nick Josephak. I still think their defense is good enough. That's going to be a revenge game against Albany because Albany ended their season in Moscow last year. Albany doesn't have their quarterback, Reese Poffenbarger. He's transferred to Miami where he's actually played a little bit in their 2 games, and their good receiver Brevin Easton. He was in the NFL. He was an undrafted free agent by the Jacksonville Jaguars. So they're a little bit different team, and I think Idaho is home opener going to be pretty psyched. So next one, probably shot down for this, but I do have Eastern Washington going down to Southeastern Louisiana, winning that game. Don't ask me why. Maybe it's just faith in the Eagles that they'll turn it around. They'll keep they'll keep moving the ball on offense and figure it out on defense. Got Weber State over Lamar, UC Davis winning at Southern Utah, Cal Poly beating Western Oregon, Northern Arizona winning at Utah Tech, Sacramento State beating Nicholls, South Dakota beating Florida State. That'd be a heck of an upset.
They might beat them with the way
maybe
Florida
not
State's playing this year.
actually, maybe not with the way Florida State's played, but South Dakota over Portland State and Abilene Christian. Unless they're looking ahead to next week's game with Idaho, they should win at Northern Colorado.
All right, Chris, what are you liking this week?
I'm not sure I have anything different from number 1 there. From Mr. 10-1. I'm picking number 10 UND to beat Idaho State. Montana will once again probably play without Junior Bergen, but have enough to beat Morehead State. Number 4 Idaho, I've got them beating number 17 Albany. I've got Eastern going south and winning at Southeastern. Weber State I'll pick over Lamar. UC Davis over Southern Utah. Cal Poly needs a win, man, and so I'll pick them over Western Oregon, Division II Western Oregon. NEU over Utah Tech. Sac State over Nicholls, South Dakota over PSU, and Abilene Christian will beat UNC.
All right. John, you got any variety, or you got the same looks as the rest of the team?
I hate to say it, but I've got the same. I've been going down the list each time. Yeah, I've got North Dakota over Idaho State. Yeah, I think Montana gets back in the win column over Morehead State, especially getting back home to Missoula. Idaho being, the friendly confines of the Kibbe Dome and not playing an FBS opponent. I think that they'll get the win over Albany despite the quarterback situation. I do think Eastern goes down to Southeastern Louisiana also and picks up a victory. Weber over Lamar. UC Davis going down to Cedar City, or I don't know. I don't remember if that one's in Cedar City or not, but I've got Weber State or UC Davis winning that one. I'm getting all my words mixed up right now. I've got Cal Poly over Western Oregon, Northern Arizona over Utah Tech, Sacramento State over Nicholls, South Dakota easily over Portland State, and I've got Abilene Christian over Northern Colorado, but I do think that the Bears will keep that one close.
If I can interject something, would you like me to switch one just so somebody does something different?
That's up to you, Fritz. I know you've talked yourself in and out of losses this year, so it's up to you, whatever you feel.
Let's keep the streak going. I'll take Southeastern to win at home against Eastern.
All right. Okay, well, I am at the bottom of the picks, so I don't know if my picks matter that much this week, but the good news is I'm on board with the people that are above me. So I have the same picks. I have North Dakota winning, Montana, Idaho, Eastern Washington, Weber State, UC Davis, Cal Poly, Northern Arizona. Sacramento State gets their first win against Nicholls. South Dakota should handle Portland State. And I got Abilene Christian beating Northern Colorado. So not a lot of variety this week, but the Big Sky is playing a lot more opponents that they should be comfortable with, not so many FBS matchups anymore. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Big Sky Now. As always, I'd like to thank my panel, Fritz, John, and Mark. Hopefully we get Ian back next week. Stay tuned for the Big Sky Now podcast next week on Tuesday. Good luck to all the teams in the Big Sky Conference. I've been your host, Josh Amick. Take care.